Hi, everybody. I'm Gary. This is Eric. We are Cedar Culture, and this is our podcast. Today, we are going to be smoking the Crazy Monkey cigar, and we are going to be talking about firsts.
Let's bundle these leaves and burn them and suck on them.
All right, Gary. So this one we're really excited to smoke. So it's the Crazy Monkey. Period. This is the only size they make. They call it the Big Robusto. Not a lot of information about it. It's from Switzerland, right?
Yes.
And sort of as legend has it, as I've heard, it was just a couple of guys that started rolling some cigars together
It's awesome.
until they rolled something that they enjoyed. Then they showed some friends, started, kept going until all their friends loved it, and then it just kind of grew from there. And now it's commercially available. It just hit the U.S. Here sometime around, I think, summer or so of 2020. And it just so happens that the U.S. distributor, the guy that has all the rights to distribute in the U.S. for this stick, lives, 30 minutes or so from us. We met him at an event, picked up some of these sticks, and I had one a couple days ago after the event, loved it, and we decided to shoot our next episode. So we're really excited about the sticks. I've got a carafe of whiskey here. We normally shoot on Thursdays, but we're shooting on a Friday, so things might get a little weird. I've also been told this is a 2-hour stick. And I confirmed it when I had one the other day.
Which it doesn't really look like. I mean, very unassuming. Very unassuming size.
It is unassuming, but it's fucking girthy. It's a Big Robusto.
Is that a real size Big Robusto?
I don't think so.
It's
a fat Robusto. Or you'll hear it like a Gordo sometimes, and all. Every company's going to put their own little spin on what it's called. But I don't know if these guys are purposely being quiet about their blends.
Right.
Or if they're just kind of young and haven't picked up steam on marketing yet. I don't know which it is, because, a lot of times these newer boutique sticks, they'll purposely say, like, undisclosed this or undisclosed that, or limited this or limited that.
Yeah, they're not
saying that, but they're just not saying much. So I don't know if they're purposely being quiet about it or if they just haven't gotten there on the marketing front yet. But what I do know is let's get started, because it's a long smoke and it's a delicious smoke. What are you drinking?
I am sticking with my tried and true diet cream soda. Just kind of seeing the darkness of the wrapper was something that I thought would pair well.
I'll have to go grab the bottle. I forget. So I've got some diet green tea, like I always have, but also, like I said, for those of you not watching, those of you just listening, I've got some whiskey here. I've got a little carafe here for myself, and it's a bourbon aged in port barrels.
Sounds
and
so good.
It smells great. You smelled it. You're not really a big drinker. I smelled it. You like how it smells. I had some yesterday, and I love how it tasted, so I grabbed myself a ton of that here. I'm looking forward to digging in, and if nothing else, if I don't figure it out during shooting, I'll go ahead and drop the name of that bourbon in the description, because I think you guys should definitely check it out. It's really good. Oh, did you bring those cigar stills?
I didn't.
Oh well.
I didn't. I will have to do that
Next time.
Absolutely. We'll probably say that the next 4 episodes. My wife got me some cedar. I don't know, is that what they call it? Stills?
I've seen them called stills. I think they're called stills. Yeah.
To light those, and then you light the cigar, and it was very thoughtful of her. Now I have to.
Well, and the idea is
pay her an homage.
Like the idea is, it's kind of like fashioning yourself a match. Like you could just use a match, but in this case, it's basically taking a piece of wood, lighting it with a lighter, then using the wood to light your stick as a way to circumvent getting like the butane stench in your cigar,
or the sulfur from the match.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point too. Which I don't know how much that stuff matters, but you all lit up there.
I am lit, and I mean, really creamy for the first few puffs. Very, very impressed with just the creaminess and the fullness of the smoke. And I mean, I can't say a harsh word about it. I mean, it just starts off wonderfully.
What's cool about this too is we talked about how there's not a lot of marketing on it because it's newer in the U.S. and there's just not a lot of reviews on it either. So, like I said, other than obviously I had one the other day, but you haven't had one, and even in research, there's not a lot of preconceived notions coming into it, right? Because there's not much written on it. It burns, or rather, the smoke, like it puts off a good amount of smoke.
It does.
On a scale of 0 to Drew Estate, I wouldn't call it Drew Estate, but it's got some smoke.
The thing I love about the backstory, I think it kind of highlights kind of what we're doing. You know, just two buddies that kind of got together doing things they enjoyed.
Yeah.
And as it kind of picked up steam with their friends and family, like it kind of went. Like
It did. It's kind of
enjoy
funny.
that aspect of that.
It's
story.
funny, and you know, we made use of the chimp. They've got the monkey. I don't know if you saw like on their website too. They're almost are using their mascot in other settings too, which we plan on doing. So kind of funny. There's some parallels there.
My joke with the rep was who who advertises with a monkey with a cigar,
Right.
and I don't think he got it, but
He didn't get it.
It
No.
was,
I don't know if
it
he
was
got
pretty funny to me, at least.
Yeah. So in terms of flavors, for me, definitely getting some of the old standbys. I'm not getting a ton of dried fruit out of it or anything. Are you? Like, I'm not sensing much sweetness really at all.
No, I get like a dry creaminess. Like there are some cigars that leave me very cotton mouth, and like I always make sure I have something to drink. And there's some cigars that don't do that. This one, it's not taking away anything from it. It's not a negative. It's just one of those cigars that's giving me the dry mouth already.
Huh.
But I think it's
I'm not getting
because
that. Yeah.
I think for me it's that creaminess and the fullness of the smoke is like drying out my saliva. But I am thinking of a couple newer cigar smokers who I'm talking with. And just kind of thinking that this would be fine for an absolute like rookie new smoker. There's no harshness. There is no harshness,
but I'm trying to think. I don't know that I would recommend this as one of somebody's first sticks, just because.
But I wouldn't shy him away from it.
I wouldn't shy him away from it. Like I wouldn't say, "Hey, like watch what you're doing." But there's certain aspects of it that I would say it's not baby's first cigar material. It's a little bigger. It's a little intimidating, both on like in the mouth and to hold. Remember when I first started smoking cigars, you said something to me. You were like, "Man, you don't look uncomfortable." Like a lot of people can look uncomfortable when they first smoke a cigar. Yeah. So you said something. You're like, "Man, you look like you know how to smoke a cigar.
Yeah, you look comfortable in your hand, even like from the get-go."
Yeah, and so taking that sort of concept into account, knowing that a lot of people are uncomfortable at first, like it's kind of an uncomfortable stick, like to stick to hold if you're not seasoned. It's a little bigger. I'm a big fan. Like I notice a lot of that when I smoke a cigar. Like I want it to feel good in my hand. I want it to feel good in my mouth. It's part of I'm gonna be holding it for 60 to 120 minutes, and so yeah, that's part of the experience to me. I like this though. I do. I like it, but I don't know if I would have liked holding this cigar as one of my first cigars. I don't know that I would have been like. I don't know.
It's one of the cigars I hold, and when I look at it in my hand, I go, "Man, for the ring size, it should be longer." But then I look at how slow it's burning too, and I realize.
Can you imagine if it was longer though? That would be a big fucking cigar.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Not that would be a problem.
But I think of some of the cigars.
How long would that take to smoke?
Right.
This takes 90 to 120 minutes.
Right.
At 5 inches long. Imagine if it was even 6 inches long.
Right.
No, just imagine if it was even
Hold on.
6 inches long.
I'm imagining. I'm imagining. Everybody at home, close your eyes and imagine along with Eric.
So, let's let the flavors develop a little bit before we get into the full first third review.
Yeah, it's just starting to open
up. So the topic today. All right, the topic is firsts, and the way we did this was kind of interesting. We told each other to each bring two kind of firsts, and depending on what they are, we'll riff on them, and then the other person will share the same first. So Gary brings two, I bring two. It's like 4 firsts, and if we each have a first for each of those 4, we'll have 8 firsts that we're kind of talking about. And my guess is there's going to be a lot of overlap and a lot of editing, and maybe we'll be talking about 3 firsts in this episode. I don't know. Somewhere between 3 and 8 firsts is what we're going to be talking about. And
I was nervous when you brought this topic up, so I was like, "Man, where is Eric going to go with this?"
Because I can go to some weird places.
Well, so can I, but I was trying to just trying to be, trying to, my wife may listen to this at some point, or my kids one day will be like,
I think your wife knows that you've had sex, right?
I hope so. She knows not well.
She knows it's happened. So there was a first. But no, well, let's see what we get into. Do you want to go first or second? Do you want to have the first or the second first?
I think you deserve to have the first.
All right, so I brought 2. The first one, let's talk about I want to talk about the first house I bought. That is like the first, what do they call it? Single family home. Okay. That I bought. Just because. I don't know. Maybe somebody's out there is thinking about buying their first home. Mm-hmm. Maybe somebody out there is on their 10th home. and can just relate to some of the stories I have. But before I bought a house, I remember kind of going in, full of piss and vinegar, if you will, on the idea of, I'm gonna mow my own lawn. I'm gonna, I can't wait, like fixer upper, like let's get, where
I'm gonna own land.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna, all that matters is the shell, the bones, and the property, and we're gonna fix everything.
Yeah, right.
And I'm gonna mow my own lawn, and I can't wait. And I'm gonna take such pride in it. And I remember a really good friend of mine telling me, "Dude, don't buy a lawnmower. Just get a lawn service. Like, don't do it." And I was like, "No, I really enjoy that. Like, I get pride out of it." And I'll never forget. I went and I bought all that stuff, and it was September of that first year of owning my house. So it was into September, end of September, and I think it was getting a little colder, and I felt like, all right, this is my last mow of the year, and I let the lawnmower go. Like I stopped the kind of the last stroke, and as I let it go, and the lawnmower was kind of still rolling a little bit, I had pulled my phone out of my pocket and taken a picture of it, and I had it on Craigslist and sold that day. I told myself I was never mowing the lawn again. That guy was a good friend of mine to meet. He was definitely right. He in just that whole concept of getting your first house and thinking like the big projects you're going to do, and also the other big thing. And I didn't listen to him on this one either, but this one there's no going back at this point, which was just the concept of don't buy a house. And kind of what would along the lines of what he was saying was, you think of it as, quote, an investment, but you've got the interest on the mortgage that you're paying that you never get back. You've got all the property taxes that you never get back. It's a bigger kind of living abode than an apartment, so you're going to be paying twice as much to heat it and cool it, clean it, and then the repairs, right? And so I've had this house now for 5 years, and in that amount of time, I've had to do a roof repair, an all new water heater, a whole new HVAC system. The sewer pipe going from the house to the street got crushed. That was like $12,000 to fix.
That's your responsibility?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's your responsibility. And like the craziest thing was mine was collapsed completely. And the reason why it was collapsed was because apparently when this house was built in 1949, and in that time period, obviously we were trying to save metal for World War II or something, whatever that thing was, or something. No, we were saving metal.
Skirmish.
Yeah, no, we were saving metal for World War II. But beyond that, the thought was all these soldiers, when they come back home from the war, they're going to need jobs. So at the time, they were it was basically a toilet paper roll with tar on it. It was compressed cardboard over and over with tar that they made your pipe out of, and they're supposed to replace it with metal. When all the guys came back from the war, they never did that. It lasted a long time, though. It lasted from, I think it was 49 to 2017. Collapses, and then I got to replace it.
Wow. It reminds me of, I remember we redid our flashing, and it literally was pressed cardboard, painted over with, some lead toxic paint, back.
It's insane.
I was like, how does that thing?
I forget all the things I've listed already, and then on top of whatever else. And so you take all those things into account, and you do got to ask yourself, is owning a house worth it? But we're not here to settle that debate. But if you haven't bought a house yet, definitely these are some things to think about. Do you have $12,000 that's just stashed away to fix this pipe if it breaks?
And for stuff that
that's not the
fun
no,
stuff.
this was another one. I had water coming in through my floorboards one time.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, it was fine. And this was a couple hours before I was having a party.
Oh.
And I couldn't figure out what was broken, why water was pumping up into the house. I had to turn the water off to the house. It was like a Saturday or Sunday, couldn't get somebody out the same day either to take a look at it. Mm-hmm. And so I wound up still having people over, but if anybody wanted to go to the bathroom, they had to get a bucket from the pool, bring it into the toilet to manually flush the toilet with a bucket of water. So that was a good one. And what it turned out to be, the problem was there was a tube that was going from my kitchen sink to my fridge to feed the water ice line. They ran it under the crawl space, which is fine, but they use a plastic PVC little tube, and it's not meant to be in the elements, and so after however many years it cracked. Wow. Yeah, so I replaced it with a copper one. But yeah, so that was another one. These are the things that you have to take into account that So
I don't think we're going to get sponsored by any realtors.
We're not. We're not. So the house you live in now, is that the first house you and Allie bought?
First house. We were we weren't even engaged. We were picking up Chinese food.
We got a house
by my parents' house. And as we were waiting for the order to be ready, there was a little realty book, and we flipped through it. And I was like, "Oh, this isn't far from my parents' house. You know, we could probably go see this house today." Kind of just jokingly. And she was like, "Oh my God, it's so
paper
cute."
book. What year was this?
06 or 07.
Wow. Yeah. So there's no app.
Right.
There's no app for that.
Right. We didn't. I mean, I don't think we even had smartphones. So
Mm-mm.
yeah. So literally, we're kids listening. There were these things. They were printed books, and you actually flipped through them physically, and you sought out information that way. But yeah, I think we ended up eating the Chinese food and going to drive past the house, and I think 3 weeks later we had it. Like we are not the people to ask on house buying. We drove past it. We were like, "Yep, that's what we want." The realtor insisted on showing us 2 or 3 other properties.
That was the first house, the first property you saw.
First property we saw.
Has it gone up in value considerably since you bought it?
It's kind of. We bought at the top of the market in like 07. So even though I thought I was a whiz, I thought I was a bargaining whiz, I definitely was not. But I agree with you. The things you think you're going to spend money on with the house, especially your first house, we're like, oh, these floors will be replaced within 6 months. This will happen. This will happen. This will happen. Virtually, we had to redo the whole outside. Siding had to get done. Roof had to get done. HVAC had to get done.
They're not the fun thing.
But it's not. It's not the stuff that you even wanted. Even when I got the deck redone, it wasn't like, we had a deck.
And those things aren't adding value to the house either.
No,
so it's not like pleasurable now necessarily, and it's not going to add value later. It's just that luckily that since you fixed that deck, whoever buys the house from you, they got a new deck.
Right. That's and my wife has a quote. She's like, "We'll worry about the value of the house if we're going to sell it. Like right now, the value is us living in it. Because if you think about dollar to dollar what you spend, I don't think it is.
No, and the house you buy to live in, they say it's an investment, and they that say it's an investment are the people,
the banks who get your interest.
Yeah,
it's in your best interest to pay me money. That's what they say. To pay me interest.
No, it's not necessarily an investment, right? And then you look at the luxury upgrades, whether it's some landscaping or this or that, and you're upside down on it. So I guess the big thing before we move on from this first topic is if you have not bought a house and you're thinking about it, just think twice, really think of all the angles, make sure it's really, really, really what you want. Mm-hmm. And if you have had a house for a long time, just go ahead and comment below. Let us know what you think about, if you have any horror stories of how you've spent more on your house than you'll ever get back due to catastrophic repairs or anything like that.
Absolutely.
Now we're opening up in the first third, and I did so much talking. I've smoked like none of my cigar, and you smoked a lot of yours. You're about an inch in. How you feeling about it?
Very mild. I'm definitely getting like a dry chocolate,
mine actually went out.
Like a wouldn't say like a milk chocolate, and not really a dark chocolate, but there's like that cacao flavor I'm getting. And I know I've been saying it the last few episodes, but definitely some leathery notes.
Let me get a real lighter. Mine's out.
But still creamy, still like a very rich and complex smoke, even though the flavor is mild, and I would say the body is medium. But creamy, man, creamy smoke.
It is a really creamy smoke. That's definitely one thing that I think it's a buzzword that's used a lot, creamy for smoke.
Right,
and
which is a weird way to describe
smoke. It's a weird way
smoke.
to describe smoke, and I typically disagree with it when people say it. It's just one of those words that comes out of people's mouth, like dried fruit, tobacco, leather.
The buzzwords,
creamy,
the big buzzwords.
Yeah, and
limited,
but limited edition, very rare tobacco. No, it is a creamy smoke. I think it's really, I'd call it full-bodied in that it just kind of envelops the tongue. It's got a ton of flavor. I think I was relighting the cigar and frankly not paying attention. You said something about chocolate, right? Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
I said not a milk chocolate and not like a dark chocolate, but like that, almost like cocoa powder, like where it's.
I was gonna say Ovaltine.
Yeah, like a dry.
Like a powdered Nesquik.
There you go.
Kind of flavor,
but like a dark one, like not that sweet milk chocolate.
Fair, like almost malty.
There you go.
Like an Ovaltine.
Be sure to drink your Ovaltine.
Love the stick. So let's throw out another first here before we move on from the first third to the second third.
And we'll probably be getting from the first into the second. So
I don't know if we will, but
no.
Well, based on how long the cigar takes to smoke.
My first first.
And you better
She's
do a
the
lot of
second
talking so I
first.
can catch up on the
I'm gonna
cigar.
try. I'm just gonna be like, this is my topic, and then be quiet. I was gonna talk about our first cars, just because I think
Alright.
the first car is like a rite of passage for young
First
guys.
car you ever had, or like the first one you bought as like an adult new?
I want to say the first car you drove like functionally. So like
Okay.
your first car that you were like, this is my car.
Okay.
And mine was a 1995 GMC Jimmy. It had a whole lot of miles on it. Wow, the ash doesn't even want to come off. That's how thick this thing is. It had to have 230 to 50,000 miles on it when I kind of got it from my sister who bought it used off someone. My dad and I ended up.
So it was your sister's car?
It was my sister's car. I believe she got into an accident and was no longer comfortable driving it. So my dad knew I was looking. He was like, I'll just do this. I was like, oh, okay.
This one's no longer safe, so it's going to go to my son instead of my daughter.
It got fixed, I guess. But I'll get into some of the amazing features.
There was no budget to replace the brake lines, but other than that, it's great.
Well, that's what poles are for. You just stop that way. But I mean, I remember feeling so proud. I went to Walmart. I bought like white Rust-Oleum paint to paint the fender. I thought it looked so good. I was like, this should be on Pimp My Ride. This is great.
Oh yeah. Did you add like any LED lights to it or anything?
That was really big. I didn't add any LED.
You know what I'm talking about? Like,
I know exactly
like the windshield fluid spots or whatever.
I did the stupidest upgrade to it, and I regretted it, and I'll get into why. I go to Walmart. I got the white Rust-Oleum. I think I got like I don't think I got fuzzy dice, but I got some stupid air freshener. And then out of the corner of my eye, I'm in their auto section, and I see their racing pedals.
Oh, nice.
They had the racing brake and the racing pedal, and it was like $19.
Wait, one didn't break off while you were driving, did it?
We'll get there. We'll get there. Everyone at home, we'll get there. So my dad helps me put in. He's like, "This is so stupid. You should not do this to your car. This isn't the type of car to do it." So I was like, "It looks so cool." You don't see it. It's on the floor, but it was 17, 18-year-old me. I'm on 295, and I accelerate, and the accelerator doesn't come up off the floor. The housing was too thick, and it literally got
just jammed somehow.
It just jammed. And I'm literally watching the RPMs and the speedometer climb 30, 40, 50,
Was this
60,
automatic
70.
or manual?
It was automatic. So it's just going through. I literally picked up my Nokia brick phone that we used to play Snake on, and I'm like, the thing.
Seriously?
I was like, I can't stop it.
Were you still accelerating?
Still accelerating. Like my RPMs are like, I'm like,
no, but the speed going.
Speed is going up. And part of me is like, I should, in retrospect, throw it in neutral.
Well, that's why I asked if it was manual.
But I'm on to not freaked out.
At 17. And...
So, I call him and he's like, well, he's like, try to get it up.
Abandon ship, just jump out.
He's like, crash it and we'll sell it to your younger brother.
He's like,
no.
Well, it was nice knowing you, Gary. It's time to eject.
He's like, luckily I have more of you. But no, luckily, I think we troubleshooted, and I ended up with my hands just pulling up as hard as I could. And we never changed it. Occasionally that would happen. You just get used to it. Used to it. That and the other horrible, amazing feature that it had, and my mother was appalled. Her car was in the shop, and she's like, I need to borrow your car to get groceries or whatever she had to get. And I was like, be careful, because when you make a left turn, it stalls. It was just built into the car. That was the issue. I don't know if it's because whatever the gas line when you made the left, that it the gas swashed to one side and it didn't have enough to keep it going. Literally, if you're making a left turn.
That's like me around lunchtime. Sometimes I feel like my gas just sloshes to the left and I don't have enough to make it through.
If you didn't plan your left turn right, you literally had to throw it in neutral midway through and get ready to restart it old school key-wise and then throw it back and drive.
That's so funny.
But I'll tell you what, I missed that stupid car. It was big and white and stupid, and we nicknamed it Falcor from the Neverending Story.
Yeah, of course.
And it was just, you didn't
as opposed to Falcor down the street that I'm friends with.
Johnny Falcor, the male guy. So my first, and it'll always be my car. It'll always be what I think of when I think of my first car. So as upset as I was that it was like a hand-me-down car, I loved the experience, and it was
awesome.
something I cherish those crazy memories in that car.
What kind of memories? Not that kind of first. So, all right, I'm not going to share my first car. Not because I don't want to share it, but
then you're breaking the rules.
No. But your story about the brake pedal, I'll share a story that I have like that. But it was with my second car. But I feel like I got to follow that story up with a similar story. So
no one knows. You could have just said this is your first car.
I could have just said that. I'm a man of integrity,
He
Gary.
is. We're nothing if not honest.
Yeah, except when I'm lying. So,
I don't know. You're telling the truth.
because I would tell you if I was lying.
Mm.
Because I tell the truth. All right, so Jeep Wrangler. I was actually with a couple friends, live in Jersey, and we went to Myrtle Beach, and we drove my Jeep down to Myrtle Beach. And coming up, we were in Virginia, and in kind of stop and go traffic on I don't know, probably on 95 or something like that. And the front right wheel, like smoke, just starts pouring out from like the front right side of the car.
I'm not a mechanic, but that does not sound good.
Mm-mm.
Not a licensed mechanic,
No.
at least.
It was definitely not good, but luckily one of the girls I was with, her dad was a mechanic. And so she called him, and it was a little less life and death than a gas pedal that's being stuck. We're just kind of stop and go traffic. And I think I pulled over, obviously. And remotely, he was able to troubleshoot and figure out what it was. Now, luckily, it wasn't the motor. What it was because it was kind of intermittent to an extent, too. And what we wound up figuring out what it was the front right brake caliper. Sometimes this can happen where as things would get hot, it would kind of swell.
Okay.
And so when you would hit the brakes, it would get stuck on.
Oh, because it
And
was too
that
big to
brake,
retract.
yeah, I don't know, big something, I don't know. Yeah, so it just wouldn't come back. And so
It's an interesting
that was the
term,
smoke. It was just the smoke from the pad touching.
Mm-hmm.
And then the reason why it was intermittent was because then if I didn't hit the brakes for a little bit, it cooled down enough, or if we were stopped in that stop and go traffic, it would cool down enough that the caliper would go back and you could drive. And so he told us how to get home.
Wow.
And how to get home was to not use the front brakes. Exactly. The emergency brake
is
only
your
uses
rear?
the back brakes.
Wow.
And so had to drive from Virginia all the way home to Jersey. Every time I wanted to brake, I would have to throw it in neutral. And because sometimes you just need to slow down a little bit.
Right.
You're not stopping. And so
It's a long way to drive.
6
that way.
hours. Well, it's 6 hours normally. I forget how it probably took like 10 hours.
Jeez.
I would have to go ahead, throw it in neutral, and kind of pump the brake or come to a complete stop or whatever. But then maybe I had to go from 60 miles an hour down to 40, but then let go of the emergency brake, go back into third gear or fourth gear. And
Does your e-brake turn on your brake lights?
I don't know, probably didn't.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
think
I
of
don't
all the
know.
people behind you, what is he doing?
Oh yeah, no, you're right. I mean, at that point, I was. That's why it took so long to get home. But kind of crazy, right?
Very crazy.
So I have a lot of catching up to do on this stick. Let's.
Okay, no, go ahead. We're good.
What are you gonna say?
I was actually going to say as I'm getting into the first third, I'm getting a lot of woody notes, and I've heard that said before, and I never really tasted woody notes.
Dude, I feel what you're
cedar.
saying. Yeah, I feel what you're saying.
So I wanted to say that before we and I forgot it.
Yeah, no, it's fair. Wood, that is good, but not. You were saying, I forget if it was the other day or one day, you were saying something about sort of like a pet store feel, like the wood chips. But I don't get that from this.
No. I don't get
different
the
kind of
hay.
wood.
I mean literally lumber, that freshly cut
That's
lumber.
good.
If that makes any
absolutely
sense.
does. No, it's
but
a great
on the
description.
Retro Hill, that's what I am getting. I am getting this clean wood finish, and I like it a lot.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see where the second third gets
stick.
us. So
Smoke is awesome. I love the stick.
I'm really happy with this.
Right before we kind of break here to come back for the second third, I guess it's worth noting too, because we're talking about how much we love the stick, that we paid for these sticks, and I just think it's worth mentioning that
we're
they're not free.
Yeah, we're not sponsorship people at all. We're gonna tell you
look. Let's just be honest. We're new, so we're not sponsorship people. If we wanted to be sponsorship people, but we talk about it a lot because as we grow this thing, and that kind of that integrity is always going to battle. Because I noticed,
as much as we're joking, we do want.
I love the Half Wheel site because Half Wheel is full of so much information.
Mm-hmm.
It's where I do a lot of my research and everything. But I don't trust reviews. It's nothing against them. I don't trust reviews on a lot of those sites because I know they're getting the sticks for free, and they're super transparent. They'll disclose when they're getting them for free and all that. It's just, I shouldn't have even said Half Wheel's name because it's not about them. It's just a lot of the big review sites in general.
Right.
There's so much, I don't know, so much skepticism though. Yeah,
it is.
I'm skeptical of a lot of reviews, and so I just think I guess, long way of saying that you can trust our reviews, and if we ever got to a point where we were getting a cigar for free, we would disclose it. But I'm still we haven't really talked about this. I'm still uncertain if I ever want to take a stick for free and review
No,
it.
'cause
It's worth. I'd rather pay the $10-20
Yeah, absolutely.
and give an authentic review and not feel like it has to be a good review. Because
Right.
I've also noticed on a lot of these sites, man, like it's almost like every single stick gets above a 90, which bastardizes the grading scale. So we've been talking about maybe coming up with our own grading scale. And never accepting a free stick, or at least never reviewing a free stick, just so that we can maybe come up with a scale that is a little bit more accessible, real. Like if a scale is going to be 1 to 100 and it's always going to be over 90, then why isn't it a scale from 1 to 10?
And
so I don't know. There's just some early thoughts about some stuff that,
and we can get it. We could get into that, and we will. As I go from my first third into my second third, I'm still getting those woody notes. And I'm even getting some coffee, and just a real nice tobacco natural flavor, like really really steady creamy smoke and a really steady flavor. I'm really enjoying this as it goes through.
Yeah, this is quickly risen to become one of my kind of favorite main rotation staple sticks on the Retro Hail. I'm also getting sort of like, I'll call it fall spice, not like a pumpkin spice, but some cloves, some cinnamon, and stuff on the Retro Hail too.
Yeah, I get a little cinnamon. I almost want to taste caramel, but I don't know if I am. But again, it's not a sweet. It's not like an artificial
it's not sweet.
It's just the flavor, the essence.
Yeah, it's not sweet enough to be a caramel. Almost, you could say like a molassesy, but not necessarily sweet. But some of that, like called burnt sugar without the sweet burnt Splenda. I don't know. I don't know.
Which is good for me. I'm on keto.
Yeah, but no, it's good. It's a really really solid smoke.
And one thing we didn't mention, like I know we talked about the monkey being on there. Like sometimes I talk about how sticks look, and I would pass this by, but this is probably a stick. Cool. If I saw in a shop, I would be like, oh man, crazy monkey! I have to give that a try. But really enjoyable. This is one I was really looking forward to. I was at a training all day, like we said. Today's a Friday. I was at a training, and I really was like, when I could, texting you, just being like, I'm really excited.
And we were talking to, I guess, just since you brought up the idea of if you walk by the stick, when I was talking to Jeff, the U.S. distributor for Crazy Monkey. He was saying he is not selling to any brick and mortar for the stick, at least not right now.
Okay.
So the only place you can get this is from Jeff. We can go ahead and throw the link in the description if people are interested in finding this, because that is the only place you can get the stick, at least on the primary market.
And we like to be able to kind of point people in the direction of where to go for something like we would want, like someone pass this knowledge along to us, and we're excited to share it. I'm really enjoying it though.
Sweet, man. So
kind of
Give us a first.
Give us a first.
Give us a first.
I struggled with what other first I was going to go with, and kind of I solidified it on the drive over here. We're both music lovers. We're both pop culture guys. I kind of wanted to hear, and I wanted to share some of my story of the first concert you ever went to. Doesn't have to be, huge, but literally the first concert you remember going to. I mean, some people have amazing stories. Like, oh, Woodstock, I was 11, my parents took me. And I'm like, what? Your first concert was Woodstock? That's not fair.
Man, first concert.
So my first concert, my dad got me into the Beach Boys. I was a huge Beach Boys fan from like 9 to like 11.
I still love the Beach Boys.
But I mean, like I was like everything I listened to. My parents were big into going to Atlantic City. Tropicana is where they stayed. I believe that's where this was. It's either Caesars or Tropicana. But my dad's like, for as part of your gift, it might have been for my birthday. We're gonna go see the Beach Boys. We're gonna stay over, and it's gonna be fun. Now this was back when kids could kind of do things alone. Like I was like, hey, it's 11 o'clock, but I'm gonna go to the arcade.
Yeah, I know.
And he was like, okay, bud, be safe.
I know. I remember. Yeah.
I take the elevator down. It's the night before the concert, and the Beach Boys are either they're checking in or they're going to gamble, but they're there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 11 o'clock. Maybe it was even like more like midnight, because I remember it being late and not a lot of people around. But there they are. They're checking in. So Mike Love goes to get on an elevator. And even though I just got off, I jumped right back on. Mm-hmm. And I'm literally standing there with my mouth gaped open like an idiot, And I ride the elevator back, and he's on like one of the top suite floors. So I get back off my floor. I run to my dad. My dad, I just rode the elevator with Mike Love. He's like, did you have him sign anything?
Yeah.
I was like, no. He said, did you say anything? I was like, no.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure if an 11-year-old kid was like, I'm going to come see you at my first concert. But I was like, I think he was with his daughter. He was with like some young girl. And my dad's like, pretty sure it wasn't his daughter. Pretty sure it wasn't his daughter. I was like, he was hugging his daughter in the elevator.
That he was doing weird things with his daughter.
But and the Beach Boys, just like, it's one of those things. I know we talk about pop culture and nostalgia. Like, there are some
That's
Beach Boys
great.
songs that just remind me of my dad and being a kid and being excited. My dad worked in Manhattan in the World Trade Center. I'd go visit him at work, and we'd go buy bootleg tapes or tapes on this, in front of bodegas, and it was just awesome. The simple childhood memories.
That is cool.
And full circle, Forever was one of the songs I used to sing for my youngest Marshall when he was in the NICU, when I would go visit him.
That's Jesse. Like, that's not. Is that?
That's a Beach Boys
Is it
song.
Beach-
Uncle Jesse just covered it.
I only know his version.
I love.
I really thought that was his song.
All right, well,
I thought that was a Jesse and the
Cedar
Rippers
Culture
original.
Podcast. I promise I will let Eric listen to the Beach Boys version of Forever, so we can compare it to Jesse the Ripper's version.
There's no contest. No, and then we can compare Ace of Base to Stephanie Tanner and her friends doing "I Saw a Sign at the Kiss Club." What a debacle that was.
Well, the Smash Club.
Yeah, did I call it the Kiss? Yeah,
The
Smash
Kiss
Club. You're right. Yeah, I think the Kiss Club. Yeah, something else. So
Next podcast, we're doing an episode just on
Full House.
Full House
Oh
and
my
the
god,
Smash Club.
we totally could.
We really could.
So let me. I'm gonna go get the whiskey too because I need a little bit more and I want to share
Perfect.
with people.
And we're kind of getting into the midpoint of the stick too, so we'll see how it changes and develops.
Yeah. So how are you feeling about the final third here? Let me get you already got your label off. Let me get my label off and relit.
It's been consistent really through the second third into the final third. It's really been consistency. I still have that really natural tobacco flavor, almost that, I don't want to call it sweetness, but that sweet flavoring of the tobacco.
It's weird. That we both keep saying it too. Like,
But it's not sweet.
it's
I
not
don't
sweet, but
know
I'm
a
getting
word.
like I was just gonna say like I've got honey now, but it's not sweet. Like I don't know.
I understand what you're saying, and I can't put words on it. Like, I totally understand what you're saying.
Well,
So others,
the only way for people to understand it is going to be to go pick one up. Link down in the YouTube video.
I was going to say the same thing. We'd love to hear if anyone's had the Crazy Monkey. To please drop a comment and let us know what flavors you're picking up on the Retro Hail. I'd love this to be interactive and hear what other people have to say.
Well, and
about
here's
it.
something else too that is worth noting. So I was when we were talking to Jeff. This is a very unknown cigar in the U.S. Dude, he sells 50 boxes every 2 weeks in the U.S.
Yeah.
He's the only distributor in the U.S. Like 50 boxes every 2 weeks for an unknown cigar. Once this becomes known, it's going to be harder to get, I think.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out with the link in the bio. It's get your hands on it now before it becomes really hard to get. And I foresee really good things from them coming forward. And I think he said right now it's just they call it a Big Robusto size.
Right.
But I think he said they're working on some other stuff, but he didn't really give us any details. I'm sure it's like privileged information, so it sounds like it's pretty early.
And like you said, I don't think they're trying to be.
But Jeff will come and
serious.
comment anyway instead of straight, so he might give us a date.
Oh, that's good. Too.
Like, he
That'd be
might-
great.
he might-
Jeff, let us know.
He might give us a date that something's coming out, or I'll send this to the Crazy Monkey guys too, over in Switzerland. But
I love that the fact that we're getting to appreciate this cigar before it's kind of on the bigger scale, because being into cigars, I haven't really been. I've never been on the forefront. The closest thing I have is that Leather Rose release, because I kind of knew the brand, I knew the Deadwood sticks, I knew it was coming out. So it's kind of really interesting to be on the forefront in the United States, at least, of this really enjoyable, long, beautifully long, slow smoking cigar.
yeah, I don't know what time we started this smoke. We're a good hour and 20 minutes in.
I was so ready to call you out on the length of this smoke when we were getting from that third to
Me too.
first to second, because I was like, oh man, this is going quick. And honestly, I feel like I'm puffing and puffing. And it's
When we
still
were at
there.
the shop the other day, as we were leaving, one of the guys, he was like, yo, set aside some time when you smoke that.
We were both like, okay.
Oh, you heard that? Okay, yeah. I wasn't sure if you heard it, and yeah, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, like, not my first rodeo, brother.
Yeah,
But
apparently it was.
but then while I was smoking it, I remember being like, dude said it was 120 minute smoke, but I'm like 45 minutes in, and I don't think it's gonna go that long. And then I remember it being like 90 minutes, and I'm like, didn't I text you that? Yeah. And then I was at like minute 90, and I'm like,
I still have some left to go.
yeah, I hope it's gonna be a while. So first, we've got one more first topic left. Not the most scandalous, but I think it brings a lot of nostalgia back, and hopefully when we talk about it, people are thinking about their first job as well. So my first job was at Superfresh. I think it was a somewhat local, like not small, but somewhat local chain here in the Northeast, Superfresh supermarkets. And I was what they call a utility clerk. And so what that means is like the guy that restocks dairy is a dairy clerk. The one that does like produce is the produce clerk. I didn't even rate a department. I was just a utility clerk, which meant I just had to do all that stuff, like anything that comes up. Summer job, first job. I remember having, I forget how old I was. I guess I was like 15 or something. I remember having to like fill out working papers, and your parents have to sign it, so you're allowed to get to get a job. And man, it was a great experience. It taught me a lot. It taught me, first off, it gave me confidence in the workforce in general that I still carry with me to this day. And I've carried through with every job, which is just go in every day, do your best, and like just outperform people. And I remember, that job that I had, every one of those specific clerks, like produce clerk, dairy clerk, whatever, they would quit. And I was so good at being a utility clerk that they never rehired. And I'm like, I wound up that summer working full-time hours. And we went into the first week of the school year, and every clerk quit for school. And they put me on first week of school, second week of school for 40 hours. And I did it, and I was able to do it, and I loved impressive. It. It made me feel like kind of good about myself. But there was one problem. I was making $5.15 an hour. That was minimum wage at the time. And so I went in and I asked for a raise, and I went in and asked my direct manager for a raise. And he's like, all right, I'll talk to like the main store manager. And I remember a couple days later, I'm outside, I'm pushing carts, pushing them up to the store. And that direct manager and the main manager, they're smoking a cigarette, like basically at the doorway, because back then, like you just smoke cigarettes wherever.
Right.
And I remember kind of like putting the carts up and going to walk into the store. And those two managers are sitting there. And the main manager of the store is kind of sitting back with his cigarette. And he acted like he was the man when he was saying this. And he was like, so Eric, you've done a good job, and I heard you've asked for a raise. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, so like you've nailed it. Like I'm gonna give you that raise. So starting next paycheck, you're gonna go from $5.15 an hour to $5.25 an hour. And the next day I went in and gave my 2 weeks notice.
That wasn't enough to keep old Eric. Didn't wet your whistle.
Well, first off, something I glanced over a lot of stuff. First off, which is that first paycheck you get at your first job, like your first W-2 job, and making $5.15 an hour, and you're putting in this many hours, and you're doing that, and you're doing the math, and you're like, man, I'm gonna rock a cool couple hundo when payday comes. And then payday comes, and you get that paycheck in paper with the pay stub in paper,
yep.
And then all those taxes, and
you're
like, oh my god, there's 2 weeks, I just made $45, or whatever.
I have just enough money to do nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Although gas back then, man.
Yeah.
$45 last year.
Oh, no, it did. But it was funny. And I just remember when he was giving me a 10-cent raise, like just going home and being like, well, I will say I wanted to just quit on the spot. My mom told me to got me to give 2 weeks notice and do the right thing.
She's a good woman.
She is a good woman. And that's such a formative experience. Another funny story from that job, one of the managers, one of like the low level assistant managers, was like a younger kid, probably in his early 20s. And my name tag, it said Eric, but if you flipped it up, it was one of those like it's a little plastic name tag, and you have the little plastic metal clip, and it clips to it. If you flipped it up, I had another name badge behind it that he made for me, and it said Lil, like Lil apostrophe, Lil bitch.
He made it for you?
He made it for me, yeah. And I remember at the time thinking it was the coolest thing because, that 20-year-old thought I was cool. But I was a utility bitch, and learned a lot of hard lessons, right, about taxes, about what it's like to be appreciated at work or not appreciated at work. Work ethic and all that stuff. What was your first job?
So my first non-W-2 job, I mowed my neighbor's lawn back in New York.
So sort of just your first job.
Elderly guy, yeah, maybe again, 10, 11 years old. And I remember, but you know what, he showed me, I do things with my lawnmower that he taught me about. Like, you know, he was like, I want you to turn the mower over. I want you to scoop all the grass clippings out. I don't want it to rust when it's inside. I was always like, man, this guy's like, you know, he pays me $10 and gives me an expired soda in the summer, you know, that kind of thing. But I think
he wanted you to maintain his lawnmower too.
Well, I guess he was kind of showing me and grooming me to appreciate the tools that you're utilizing, you know, because, you know, we were all trying to touch our dad's tools and got yelled at and do all that stuff.
What are your final thoughts on the stick, man? You're about done. I'm a little behind you, but let's wrap this up, bud.
I am getting a little nuance of I kind of got what you were saying with the baking spices. Not spicy, not harshness at all, but just this earthy
Italian spices, clove, cinnamon.
A little clove, maybe some cinnamon again, not sweet.
Not strong. Clove might be the wrong.
Clove might be too strong.
Clove has like such a strong, but that like earthy spice, like a cumin kind of.
Yeah, like what you would garnish a dish with, like basil, like something earthy, gritty, like but very, very tasty, very enjoyable, very stable all the way through. Not a whole ton of profile changes, but I mean for a long stick, surprisingly long, enjoyable. Will definitely smoke it again. Would recommend it to people. Very happy, very excited. We got to smoke it and review it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So, hey, if you're on YouTube, go ahead, drop us a comment. You'll see a link to buy these in our comments. If you do try it, tell us what you think. If you're not on YouTube and you're hearing about this and you try it or want to try it or have questions, hit us up on Instagram. It's our kind of preferred social media platform. And let's hear what you guys have to say. And as always, long ashes.
And stay smoky, friends.
Thanks for checking out the Cedar Culture Podcast. If you'd like that episode, go ahead, tap, like, follow, subscribe, whatever it is on your platform of choice. And if you are on YouTube, hit that bell as well to be notified of new episodes. It really helps us out. We appreciate it.
And then don't forget to head over to Instagram and Facebook and follow us as well.
Do it.
Do it.